What's up guys, my name is Ace, and earlier this week I made a video sharing my constructive feedback and criticism for Warzone, and what I feel could improve to make Warzone the best that it can be. Now obviously within that video I was focusing on the things that I either didn't really like or I just felt there was room for improvement. Today I wanted to do the opposite and share all of the things I really like about Warzone and why I'm actually enjoying it so much, and why for the first time since Modern Warfare launched, I actually can't wait to hop on and play. Now the reason I wanted to wait for this video is I didn't want to make this video during the honeymoon phase. I wanted a bit more time with the game to really get into it and find the flaws and what I like and dislike about it. And I think I've pretty much reached that point now, and like I said, if you guys are looking to see the negatives, the things I didn't like, I will leave a link to my feedback video down below, because with this video, I'm by no means claiming that Warzone is absolutely flawless, but I am going to be focusing primarily on the positives today. So let's hop into it, and the first thing that I'm really liking about Warzone, especially when I'm comparing it to Blackout, is the map. Within Warzone, I really feel like the map actually makes sense, and it plays much more like I would expect from a Call of Duty Battle Royale. The different points of interest actually kind of connect with each other and they make sense. I said this in a video earlier this week. With Blackout, it felt like they just took some empty terrain and then they just kind of plopped random points of interest and spread them out around the map with no interconnectedness and with not really much logic between them. In Warzone, it actually looks like a somewhat realistic area. You've got like a city area that goes off into more of like suburbs, then you've got like an airport and a military base and then more remote locations. And between all of those different areas, it kind of flows together nicely and makes sense. It doesn't feel like they just randomly plop those on some blank terrain. It actually feels like it makes sense to be there. And I really like that part about it, but I also just like the way that it plays as well. I was really worried initially about the verticality of everything and people just camping on rooftops. And while that does happen, it's not nearly as big of a deal as I was worried that it might become. I think this map size also works quite well with 150 players. If it was just 100 players, I don't think I would like this map nearly as much, simply because there are so many buildings and it isn't just a bunch of wide open fields, and therefore finding fights would be a lot more difficult. But with 150 players, especially when you factor in respawns and stuff, I feel like the pace fits really nicely with this map design. Next up, another thing I like about Warzone, and this is a relatively minor thing, but I think it's really neat, is the little pre-game lobbies. In a lot of Battle Royale games, you either don't have guns or you can't really shoot the other players, you can't kill the other players. It's not really much of a warm-up, whereas in the pregame lobby for Warzone, it actually feels like a proper warm-up. You get a random loadout, you can actually kill other players and have battles with them. And to top all of this off, you're actually gaining XP and weapon XP while doing this, so there's some incentive to actually go out and fight other players in this pregame area. It makes me feel a lot more comfortable when I first get into a game. My first fights feel so much better because I'm already a little bit warmed up. And I know there are some Battle Royales on the market that do something like that, but I just really like how they do it within Warzone. As for the next thing that I really like in Warzone, especially when I'm comparing it to Blackout, I'm often going to be comparing Warzone to Blackout because they're both within the Call of Duty universe, but I really like the armor system within Warzone. Now, that's not to say that it's perfect and I don't feel there's maybe a little bit of room for improvement, but overall, I really like having those armor plates, which are fairly common, so everybody's going to be finding armor plates as they play through the game. It's not like you have to get really, really lucky and get a level 3 armor like in Blackout. Everybody's accumulating these plates as time goes on, and I really like that they just straight up add extra health. That's essentially how they behave. Headshots, while still very valuable, have to peel the armor off first, and you're not dealing damage to the health of the player that you're shooting until you peel the armor off. I feel like this keeps things a lot more consistent when it comes to armor, and a lot more fair as well. It's not down to the RNG, it's not down to just getting lucky and finding a certain tier of armor. It's about consistency and looting effectively, making sure you're buying those armor plates when necessary, and I just think it's a far superior system to Blackout's armor system. Now, leading off of that, this brings us to one of the main topics I wanted to discuss today. One of the biggest things I really like about Warzone, and it's a relatively general thing, we'll get into some specifics, is all of the steps they've taken to eliminate the randomness and pull out a lot of the RNG factors within Warzone. Now, as most of us know, randomness is a big part of Battle Royales, and it's honestly part of the excitement of a Battle Royale when there is some randomness involved, because it's kind of like gambling. You get that high when you get really lucky and get something really powerful. But at the same time, with too much randomness, things can feel very unfair and get very frustrating very quickly, because you can play a situation perfectly, but if the enemy just got luckier than you, they can easily kill you, and there's not much you could have done in that situation. And Warzone has taken several steps to eliminate at least a lot of the randomness and the luck factor, while still having some of it in there. Of course, you still have to go and loot, and there is some luck involved when it comes to looting, and especially early game, luck is still involved. But as you start progressing through a match, it becomes much more down to skill than luck, because first off, we have those loadout drops, so everybody can just buy basically their perfect loadout. And at that point, there's no excuse for losing a gunfight because you have the best loadout you could possibly make for yourself. Now again, I'm not saying everything's perfect here. I do think some adjustment is in order when it comes to loadouts. I do feel they're a bit too easy to earn. But overall, I do like that loadouts exist because it eliminates the randomness towards the end game. On top of that, there's so many other things they've done, like just simplifying the overall loot system. We don't have to loot health items, for instance. We just have that auto heal combined with the armor plates. And I really like the added simplicity there, so we're not running around trying to find all kinds of health and then manage inventory and stuff. It's much more about just getting into the fight, and it's about positioning and gunplay much more than getting lucky and finding loot. I also really like the contract system within Warzone. It gives you little things that you can work towards throughout a match that give you a nice little boost, like the bounties might give you a free kill, or at least a much easier kill than if you didn't have a bounty and didn't have an indication of their location. The recon challenges are excellent for getting a peek at the next circle. And then the scavenger challenges just help you get that loot up a little bit faster and get your cash up as fast as possible. I really like that we have those things to work towards when there is some downtime, because in basically any Battle Royale game, you're going to find downtime every now and then, and sometimes it can get a little bit boring. I don't really find that so much with Warzone. I always feel like if I'm in a boring moment, I just have a look at my map and see what kind of contracts are in the area, and I can go complete one of those, and that just keeps me busy, and I really like that. But one more thing, rolling back to the topic of the reduced randomness, I really like the cash system and the buy stations. I like the fact that you still have to loot to get your cash and stuff, and looting's a big part of a Battle Royale game, but it eliminates so much of the luck because you're just looting for cash and building your cash up, and then you get exactly what you want out of those buy stations with the cash that you've been looting. So people that are more efficient looters are still going to be rewarded with this system because they're building up cash faster than people that aren't very efficient at looting. But now they don't have to rely nearly as much on luck, so they can get exactly what they want to get within those buy stations. As for the next thing that I really enjoy about Warzone, especially within the trios mode, is the fact that we have second chances, and there's always hope when playing with friends. The Gulag, I think, is actually a really cool idea. When I first heard about the Gulag when it was leaked, I didn't like the idea of it too much. It seemed kind of overcomplicated and silly. But now that I've actually played through, I love the fact that you get that second chance. And you have to actually earn that second chance. It's not just immediately given to you. You have to actually 1v1 for it. And I think that's a lot of fun to actually get into that. Additionally, even if you lose in the Gulag or if you die again after the Gulag, I like that there is always at least a sliver of hope that you can get back into the game, assuming your teammates are willing and able to collect the cash and buy you back. I think that's an excellent system. I like that there's a trade-off involved with that, where you do have to actually earn the cash in order to do it. It's not just like a free thing that you can constantly do throughout a match. And I just really like that when playing with squads, because there's nothing more frustrating than playing a Battle Royale and dying right at the beginning while playing with your friends, and then you just have to sit and spectate your friends for the next 20 to 25 minutes. That's kind of boring. I want to be playing the game with them. And in a lot of other Battle Royales, if one of us died right at the beginning and there was no option for a respawn, we would honestly just leave the game and start a new one up. Whereas in Warzone, there's no need to do that. As for the next thing I've got on my list of things that I really love about Warzone, this is quite simply the sniping. Now, I do feel like the thermal sight maybe needs some adjustment at extreme ranges, because it is a little bit cheesy to just scan with a thermal sight and then see people at like 600 meters that you otherwise would have never spotted. But the overall feel of the sniper rifles is just so satisfying to be aiming for those headshots, and when you hit those headshots, it feels so good to be downing somebody with a nice clean headshot. And on top of that, I feel like they've balanced out sniper rifles decently well by having that scope glint. I think the scope glint is a great mechanic to be having within Battle Royale, because without it, I feel like the sniper rifles would be way too overpowered, and you'd have people just sitting in bushes sniping at you, and you would have no idea where those shots are coming from. So the scope glint, I think, is a nice thing to balance out the inherent power of a sniper rifles with their one-shot kill potential, even if you've got full armor. So I really think that it's super satisfying to snipe, but it also gets balanced out fairly nicely. And this video is already getting a little bit longer than I expected, so those are like the main things that I had on my list, at least, when it comes to the things that I'm really enjoying about Warzone. And many of these, I think, really nicely separate Warzone from other Battle Royale games on the market. As just an overall general thing, I really like that Warzone feels a lot like Call of Duty. I would say it feels more like Call of Duty than Blackout did. And I also feel like it's doing a really good job of bridging the gap between a Battle Royale and a more traditional multiplayer first-person shooter. A lot of that is because, like I discussed earlier, the randomness factor is reduced quite a bit, and I've actually seen quite a few comments from people that say, I normally hate Battle Royale games, but I decided to give Warzone a shot, and I'm actually really enjoying myself because I have the option to get my perfect loadout. And because it doesn't feel as random, and it actually feels like a lot of what goes on in the game is in my control and in my hands, and not just down to luck. And with that, I think that's a good place to leave this video. I'm having an excellent time with Warzone still. I'm excited to see what the future brings. I'm really hoping for some solid support with this mode as we go into the future. And it's just so nice to finally have that experience again with Call of Duty, where I get excited to play it when I wake up in the morning, rather than kind of dreading that part of the day and just being excited to make my videos. But with that, I'd like to know in the comment section below, regardless of the things that you don't like or would like to see changed with Warzone, let's just focus on the positives here in the comment section. What parts do you really like about Warzone? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.